Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. It's great to see, I'm just looking at the people joining in there. It's great to see some familiar names returning for another session. So today I'm going to be talking to you about a very popular integration between Workbooks and Outlook. So my name's Ashley. I'm the customer support team lead here at Workbooks. I'm also joined in the room by my colleague Milo, who will be on hand to help with any technical issues in the background if anyone has any. And he may also jump in at the end of the webinar as well to answer any questions if needed. Now, thank you for joining us throughout our reporting webinar series. So as you can see, I think we've wrapped up on that chapter for now at least. And now we're progressing to other key areas of the Workbooks platform to share some practical tips and some expert guidance so you can unlock even more value from your day-to-day use and get the most out of the product. And thank you again to anyone who attended our previous session a couple of weeks ago on setting up email accounts. I hope that there was some gems in there that you were able to take away and will hopefully help you going forward. If you weren't able to attend, I hope for at least that's because it involved lots of sunshine on the beach, in which case I'm not jealous at all. But if so, and you weren't able to attend, then we do have recordings on our website. If you do struggle to find any of them or the one that's specific you're looking for, please reach out to our support team and they'll happily point you in the right direction as well. So you should be able to see on screen now a list of the upcoming webinars that we have over the next couple of months. If any of these topics interest you, then please do keep an eye out for the emails inviting you to register. So back to today's session about the Workbooks and Outlook integration. So I'm going to cover what it is and how it works, the requirements for the integration, which records can sync between Workbooks and Outlook, how you as a user can use it, any common errors and tips that we feel are worth sharing, and then finally I'll conclude with just a quick recap, and then try and answer as many questions that you guys might have. So again, we do find that some sessions people ask more questions than others. So if you do have anything, there's no such thing as a silly question. Please pop it in the chat. If we can answer it, I'll do my best to. Again, Milo might jump in if he has any knowledge that I'm forgetting. Yeah, and hopefully it'll be a really informative session for everyone. Again, I just want to highlight as well at the bottom of the screen that the session is going to be recorded. So if it will be sent to everyone after the webinar, but again, it will be available on our website as well. So you'll be able to find it on there. So without further ado, let's jump back in. Let's kick things off and yeah, start this before you start checking your inbox. So the Workbooks and Outlook integration, or more commonly known as the Workbooks Exchange Server Sync, or WES for short, is an integration provided by one of our software partners, Revenue Grid, which allows communication between the Workbooks and Outlook platforms. The integration itself runs in the background every 30 minutes, seamlessly syncing data in and out of your workbooks, and is fully supported across Mac, Windows, browser versions, and mobile versions of Outlook. And this is hugely beneficial because it allows you to keep everything up to date in your Workbooks database, as well as your email client, without the need of duplicating any effort. So that saves you both time and, at least in my case, sanity. And running parallel to the WES is the Workbooks Outlook add-in. So this is simply a convenient sidebar plugin designed to give you greater control over the synchronization of the records between both systems. The add-in allows you to effortlessly create and update records in your database without the need of without needing to leave the Outlook interface. So to use the WES or the Outlook add-in, both of them, there are some requirements. So firstly, you require to have an Exchange Sync license. Now, while the license is not included in any of our package editions, it is available as an extension, which can be purchased for individual users who need it. So if you would like to know more or any more details on purchasing, please reach out to your account manager. They'll be more than happy to kind of give you the details on that. Alternatively, raise a case with us in support and we'll be more than happy to kind of pass it over to your account manager and get them to come back to you. Once you have the correct license, a system admin will then be able to enable the Exchange Sync module within the database account settings. And following this, a system admin and your IT team will then need to connect your account with the Exchange Sync service in order to set up the appropriate configuration and authentication methods for your business. Now, I'm not going to be covering any of the technical setup in this particular session, but if your IT team does need any guidance or would like to review any documentation, we've included a couple of helpful links at the bottom of our knowledge base page. A couple of knowledge base page links at the bottom of the slide. And for users to take advantage of the Outlook add-in, this interacts directly with your Exchange Sync server. So your 365 admin can deploy it to individuals or specific groups directly from the Exchange account. So when reviewing the second link at the bottom of the screen there are other resources on most of our pages, to be honest. There are other links and resources that take you off to Microsoft and things like that. So again, your IT teams may find these resources helpful when doing that. In addition to this, each user requires an active Exchange license as well as an active Dropbox. Now, the reason for this is because in some scenarios behind the scenes, the add-in will use your Dropbox to create the link to records in Workbooks. So it's important that you've configured it and authorized senders appropriately. Now, if you need any guidance on how to set up a Dropbox, that was covered in our last session about setting up email accounts. So again, jump back and have a little review of that video or the recording if you can. Alternatively, again, I'm going to keep saying it, come to our support team. I love them, they're great, in which case they'll be more than happy to help you. So now we've covered what it is and how it works, I'm just going to touch on which records can sync between the two systems. The Exchange Sync can automatically sync 4 key record types. So that's emails, people, tasks, and meetings, meaning that contacts, to-do lists, and calendars in your Outlook will stay aligned. Now, the way in which these records sync out of workbooks is by the use of the My View landing pages. Now, once a record appears in the, say, My People or My Open Tasks, My Open Meeting views, they will sync to Outlook the next time the sync runs. And you can also watch a record for it to appear in your My View. This type of scenario can be really helpful if, for example, you're a part of a sales team and you've got a new lead that's assigned to a queue, comes in via email. You may have had some kind of communication with that person previously, so naturally you want them to be a contact in your Outlook for quick access. Selecting to watch the record in Workbooks will leave the record assigned to the queue that it's with, but it will also make it visible in your My People landing page, thus syncing to Outlook and will appear as a contact in there for you. And then separate to the above two scenarios, you can also create a new view within your My People or My Activities landing pages. You can call that new view Exchange Sync, and then you can apply certain filters depending on what you want to see in that view and save it. Now, the integration will identify this view name, and then it will use that view to sync the records to Outlook. Now, a couple of important points worth highlighting here when syncing records out of workbooks. When creating a meeting, creating a meeting in workbooks, it's important to note that any attendees to that meeting will receive the invite to the meeting once it's synced and created in Outlook. And also, more importantly, any comments or notes populated in the description field of the meeting will also sync into Outlook and will be visible on the invite. Now, I can see from the names in the audience, I know how lovely you all are, and I know none of you would ever leave anything too colourful or after a spirited conversation with a colleague or client. But yeah, I joke about that, but it is worth keeping that just in mind that if you're ever jotting anything in this field, or if you're training any future employees that you have who may need to use the Exchange Sync, that this is quite an important thing not to leave any sensitive data or anything sensitive in that field. Another important thing to note is that there's a sync limit from Workbooks to Outlook of 10,000 records. Now, if the sync limit is exceeded, the sync will fail and time out. Now, usually My people records are the culprit here. So if you ever find that you've got an error message in your Exchange Sync UI, or your WES doesn't seem to be working, I'd firstly advise jump over to My People. If it is anywhere near 10,000 records or kind of exceeding that already, apply a filter to reduce the number of values within that view and save it, and that should resolve that issue for you. If that fails, let us know in support and we'll investigate further. Now, while that's how to control the sync out of workbooks, there is a different mechanism to control which records sync into workbooks from Outlook. So within your Exchange Sync UI in your user preferences, so this is on an individual user basis, you'll find there's 3 toggle buttons for meetings, tasks, and people. They can be enabled and disabled. So as displayed at the bottom of the screen on this slide, it's just important to reiterate that these are specifically for things coming into workbooks, not going out. Now, let's talk about how to use it from the Outlook side. So when the Exchange Sync integration is set up, it creates 2 new categories within your email client: workbooks and workbooks error. Now, the WES will pull through the same record types along with emails from Outlook. So, sorry, when I say same record types, I just want to reiterate that that is people, meetings, and tasks, as well as emails from Outlook to workbooks by the use of the workbooks category. Now, in some circumstances, you may want to configure a rule within your email client to automatically categorize specific emails, reducing the amount of manual input syncing records into your database. Now, though this can be a great time saver, it is recommended to take some time and consideration to determine what emails you want to sync into your database. Syncing all emails will contribute heavily toward your database storage, especially if they've got attachments. So precise, sensible rules are recommended when going down the rule route. And another note worth mentioning is the integration uses email address as an identifier for people or sales leads. So if an email address exists within your database and you're syncing an email into workbooks, the email should appear in the email area of your database, the email section, as well as it will appear on the emails tab of the person or sales lead that in the recipients field. Similarly, the add-in also uses email address as an identifier for people or persons and sales leads that exist in your database. So if an email address does exist in your database, and it will show a corresponding person or lead reference in the in the add-in sidebar, just as you can see on the screen, and it will list any other record types that it recognizes are related to that person or sales lead record. And once records are identified, you can click to save the button at the top right of the add-in, which will use your Dropbox for the email to appear in your database. Importantly, it's good to note here that if you click to save it, the email usually, and I'll use that usually, appears in your database almost instantly. However, in terms of linking it to the person record or the sales lead record, it's important to highlight again that this runs on a cycle of every 30 minutes. So even though the email may appear in your database in the email section straight away, there is a chance that it may not link to the corresponding record for up to 30 minutes. There is also a link item button at the bottom right of the record that you can see in the add-in there. So again, that works in the same way. It links items to records, and it links emails to records, and the email will then display on the related items tab of that particular record type. So if the integration doesn't identify a matching email address in workbooks, that's not a problem. A slightly smaller box will appear, as you can see there, and this gives you the option to just create a person or a sales lead. So selecting the appropriate record type will then present you with a selection of fields from that record. So just as you can see in the other screenshot to the right of the slide. Just fill in the necessary fields, hit the create button, and a new record will instantly be created in Workbooks. And you have the luxury of doing that without, again, the need of leaving your email client. Creating records via the add-in is not limited to people and sales leads. It's also possible to create organizations, opportunities, cases, and tasks. Now, a system admin will also be able to update the fields that are displayed when creating or updating a record. So this can be achieved by duplicating the default profile and within the Exchange Sync UI. And as you can see on the screenshot there at the bottom of the slide, the left highlighted column allows you to add and remove fields. The middle highlighted column allows you to control whether the field should be updatable or not within the within the Outlook add-in plugin. And then the right column determines if the field is required or not. So anything that's grey in amongst those columns, as you would expect, not updatable or amendable. So again, required fields at say record level cannot be removed from the fields available within the Outlook add-in. So it is worth pointing that out as well. Okay, so what I want to do now is I've talked a lot, and hopefully you're not all asleep. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into my Outlook, and I'm going to try and run through a couple of kind of different scenarios and kind of demonstrate the kind of the points that I've just discussed. So hopefully you can all see my Outlook folder there. So the first thing I want to do is just point out, so I mentioned before that because the add-in does link to your Exchange server, it can be rolled out by a 365 admin, or an IT team will be able to roll that out to individuals or groups within the organization. Now, if you don't happen to see it, what you can do is you can click on the More Apps at the top of the ribbon, and then Add Apps, and then using the search bar on the left-hand side, you can search Workbooks if you don't see it on the screen in front of you, and then it should appear. You should be able to click on that, and then you should be able to add the app to your Outlook instance. Okay, so once you've added it and the app's installed, you should then be able to see the add-in in the in what's called the Outlook ribbon. You should be able to see that at the top of the page. I would like to also note that so I know that not everyone, I'm demonstrating this on the new version of Outlook. Not everyone chooses to use the new version. I cannot honestly tell you why. But in terms of if you do use an older version of Outlook or the legacy version, then it may be the older branding. It may be a blue logo of Workbooks. It may be an orange logo of Workbooks. I know for sure on the new Outlook, it has been updated in a recent update so that the branding matches the green pretzel. So, okay, and then also, again, I'm not sure, I don't think this is in the old Outlook, but if you open up an email, within the new Outlook at least, you'll be able to see the Workbooks logo within the email text or within the email body as well. Body, probably not, but at the top right of the email box. So, okay, and so, yeah, so if you ever want to open it up, you just click on it, it then open on your sidebar there. And one of the best practices that we recommend is to pin the Outlook add-in. Now, the reason for that is it just saves you time and many clicks. So basically, I could move away from this email, click on another email, and it will stay open. If I didn't do that, then I'd have to open it each time. So it's just not ideal. But again, everyone to their own. If you prefer to open it each time, then just to give you more real estate on the screen, then that's completely understandable. And also, it's worth mentioning that if you're using a Windows version of Outlook, or a Windows laptop, the pin will point diagonally down left to kind of represent that it is pinned to the screen. If you're using a Mac, the color should change to a solid blue to recognize that it's pinned to the window. Okay, so now I've mentioned that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the emails that we've got here that have come in. So firstly, with this particular email from me, funnily enough, you can see that this record does exist in our Workbooks database. Now, if you don't know why, I can tell that because it's recognized the email address and it's giving me a person reference at the top of the ad in there. So the email shows that it's not saved, so I can easily link this email to that person record, I can easily create the sync the email to my database by clicking save. By a simple click of the button, it'll just tell you it's saved. That should then appear in Workbooks pretty much instantly. It may take up to 30 minutes for that particular method to link to this person record. Again, alternatively, as I said before, you've got the link item button down here as well. So it works, as I said before, it works similarly to this one, but it just links it to the related items tab as well as the emails tab of a person record or sales lead record. So I do usually recommend using the link item button. It just seems, for my preference, it just seems to run a little bit quicker. Okay, so looking at this email from Ashley, so I can see that hi Workbook support, I'm having issues logging into Workbooks. Can you please help me? So absolutely. What we need to do now is I think that first thing we need to do is raise a support case for this. So you can do that by, again, having the email on screen. You can click this little circular plus icon at the top of the add-in, and then that gives you, these are the record types that you can create direct from here. So with this particular one, I think we should be raising a support ticket for Ashley. So we're going to open it up, and then these are the fields that we've got set in our current profile, or I've got set in my current profile that I need to fill in. You can jot down any fields that you think are necessary. Obviously, you can add a lot more if your business works on the basis that it does have fields that it requires to be completed. And once you fill those in, just click create, and that should, there we go. So pretty much instantly, it's created a case within your database. I've not even left the Outlook add-in, and it's given me a case reference number as well, which is incredible. So now other people within the business can see that that case has been raised. Now also, I think it's probably worth linking this email to that particular record as well, so it appears in the related emails tab. So I'll click link item. So there we go. And so sorry, got a bit lost there. So the fact that this has created now, so you also have one of the great functionalities of the Outlook add-in is that you can jump directly to that record, or you can open that record directly from this screen as well. So if you click on the three dots of any of these, you can see there it says open case 115303, and then it will just kind of refresh the browser that holds your Workbooks database, and then when you go into it, it should pop up with that record on screen. And also, I think it's probably worth mentioning as well, or in terms of this particular issue that this customer's having, I know that this, you can see from this person record that they also have an open opportunity. So if I look here, I can see that the opportunity is due for regarding an upcoming renewal. So actually, it's probably worth, if I want for the account manager to be aware of any particular issues that this customer might be having pre or while they approach that conversation that they're going to have coming up. So it might be worth then linking this particular email, but not only linking it, updating the record from here as well, just to add a couple of comments. So if you can do that by clicking on say the opportunity record, and then again it brings up some fields that you can update from this view. So I'm just going to add a comment here saying customer experiencing login issues, and I'll click done there. And then what I'll do is if I save that, that should then update the opportunity record. But then at the same time, I want to make sure that the account manager for that organization is aware of the email that came in. So if I link it to that record as well, then what that should do is relate that. So within the related items tab, it should display it there. Okay, so from here, another excellent feature is that, so as I said before, you've got the 30-minute run cycle of the WES. So you do actually have the ability to be able to force a sync. So clicking what I like to call the burger at the top right, the 3 lines, if you click there, you've got the ability to refresh and force sync. So if I click force sync, you get a little message at the bottom of the screen here saying that it's scheduled successfully. So that'll just take a minute or so for it to kind of jump in kind of queue in around your other processes, but that should run kind of almost as soon as possible. And then what we want to do is, if I jump into my workbooks database, so if I do that here, as you can see, we've got the person record here, and if I quickly save this record, see some kind of update has occurred, so let's reload it. You can see there the email, so login issue, the email's linked now with that person record within the database. And then if I go back to the opportunity, if I save this one now, hopefully that's updated as well, thank God. So once this reloads, we should hopefully see, there we go, a comment that I've left from the Outlook add in there that hopefully will help anyone looking at this particular record going forward, or at least until the renewal. Maybe it might be easier if you timestamp it if multiple people are updating certain records. But it just helps kind of collaboration within the business, and you can do it kind of almost effortlessly from one location. And then also, if we look at the top of the screen, emails tab for this, you've got the login issues there, as well as related items. It shows in there as well. So again, it just gives the sales team or your account manager the full picture of what's going on for that customer, and then they can have just a better conversation with that customer. So I personally think that that's a really, really great, helpful feature that you can update records from that view as well. Okay, so let's jump back into Outlook. So because I did see in my inbox that I had another email from Milo. So got an email here from Milo that it doesn't exist. So what's happened here is the add-in has identified, or hasn't, I should say, identified that this email exists within Workbooks. So what I want to do now is I'm going to create a person within the database. So I do that by click that, or click create, sorry, or person, and then create. I don't have any specific updates for any of these fields, but it is worth mentioning as well that the add-in will also try and use certain parts of the email body or the email text to populate the fields that it deems necessary. So again, that's again a really good feature that could save you time going forward. So if we click create here, again, it should hopefully create it pretty much instantly. I've got the person reference for that for Milo now. So in his email, Milo mentions that he'd like to have a meeting to go through some Outlook add-in stuff, and he'd like to do it next week. So pretty reasonable request. It's quite blunt and straight to the point, so I better set that up and get back to him. So what I'll do is, if I look up here, it doesn't allow me to create a meeting from the add-in. So again, not a problem. All we need to do here is jump over to our calendar on the left toolbar. And if I clear everything we've got going on, make it less messy. Okay, we can see if I jump to next week, I can just pop in, say, next there, 1 o'clock meeting with Milo. And actually, it would have been helpful if I'd have copied Milo's email address. So I'll quickly go back and do that now. So go back to next week. Meeting with Milo. Okay, and then I'll drop in his email address in here. So that's should hopefully set that up. But the important thing to remember, and this is the thing that I often forget, so I'm glad I've remembered now, is to make sure that the meeting is categorized as workbooks. So if I go to more options, it should open it up into a bigger screen. and then you have the ability at the top here in the ribbon, you've got categorize here. So if we select workbooks, that should, so you see it applies a little workbooks symbol or kind of wording on the email there or on the meeting layout. If we send that off, I'm hoping magic works and Milo gets that meeting. So yep, we've created the meeting, and again, as I said before, because we're using the categorization feature, that particular sync, that runs every 30 minutes. So the chances are we did a force sync a few minutes ago. That may not now sync for another 30 minutes from now. So what I'm going to do is jump back to the Outlook add-in. Luckily I've pinned it, so it just opens up nice and easy. And then if I click the burger again at the top right, and I click force sync again, get the message at the bottom, force sync has been scheduled successfully. So hopefully that's now running in the background. So what I'll do is jump back into my Workbooks database, and before I look at Milo's record or again the meeting that I've created, I'm not trying to buy myself any time, I promise. What I want to do is I just want to show you, if we click on, so this is the user preference section. It may display slightly differently if you're not using green theme. If you're using, say, one of the older, let's say, cleaner theme, you'd still have to press the start menu and preferences at the bottom of the menu. But for green theme, you just click your little initials at the bottom left or wherever you've got it displayed. Click preferences, and then in integrations, Exchange Sync. Just take a minute to load. And then what you find here is, so this is your kind of individual area of within the Exchange Sync UI. So from here you can see that if there's any particular errors that if your add-in isn't working or your WES sync isn't working, you'll be able to identify. If you go to this screen, you'll be able to see that it will show maybe a failure here or there's an error somewhere on the screen. If you're ever reporting an issue to us in workbook support, we always find it really helpful. If you can provide that when you're raising the case, that's excellent. Just saves us a little bit of time. But if not, then not to worry, we'll go and get it anyway. Also, again, when raising a case to us, if you download these logs and provide those to us, again, that just saves a little bit of time and hopefully allows us to kind of fix your problem just that little bit quicker. So what I wanted to show from here is that you do have the ability to force a sync from within the Workbooks database as well. So I showed you in the add-in, and it is also possible within here, so you haven't got to worry about that. And then, as I mentioned slightly earlier in the webinar, in the sync settings on the left-hand side there, these are where you can find those three toggles, which allow you to kind of determine if you want that record type to sync into your Workbooks database. So yeah, I just thought it was worth highlighting that. I'd mentioned it earlier, but I thought it'd be nice to show you. Okay, so now hopefully that's enough time wasting. What I'm going to do is jump and search for Milo's record. Hopefully it's been created. Yes, it has. Excellent. And if we bring that up, we should see an I didn't link the email actually, so that was on me. So we should have seen an email, but I didn't link it, so that's my mistake. It would display there, I promise you. In terms of the activities, I created the meeting. Please say it's there. There we go. So I did do one bit right, in which case the meeting has, you saw how quickly that did sync over. I know that I did show you something else for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, but it saved you the effort of creating it in your Outlook calendar, as well as then going in and creating it in your Workbooks database. So I think that's an incredible time saver. Okay, so I'm now going to jump back over to the presentation. If I just click there and there. Hopefully everyone can see that now, back on the slide deck. So that's all for the demonstration. Hopefully you found a few bits there helpful, or if you knew about it previously and you just forgotten and it's just reminded you, then that's a big win for me. But yeah, so I'm going to go back into the next slide now. So here we've got a screen of common errors and tips. So with most product areas, there are some questions that we get raised more than others, or more frequently than others, I should say. So hopefully this slide and kind of the information that I provide can help with a little bit of advice the next time that it might come up for you. Hopefully it never comes up again, in which case the world is wonderful. But if I start from the left, and I'll kind of go down the list of common errors, and then I'll move to the right to cover the tips. So the most common error that we get is when system admins, so say you get a new person or a new employee within your organization, and you want to create a user for them. The most common error we get is when your system admin's trying to create a user in the Workbooks database. When you apply the Exchange Sync license and try and save that user record, you often get say I think it's like a 9-digit exception reference, or just a numbered reference on screen. So if this happens, so we can see what that means or we know what it means on our side, but usually it's because the new user's email address has appeared in the Exchange Sync UI prior to being created in the Workbooks database. So I'm not 100% sure. This is something that we have investigated for a little while, but I believe it's something caused by the way that the new employee's been set up in, say, the 365 or in Azure environment, resulting in the email address appearing in the WES. So if this happens to you, so next time you go and you're trying to add an Exchange Sync license and you try and save that user and it just doesn't let you, possibly try looking at the Exchange Sync configuration first. Just have a little look to see if that user's email address displays in that list. And if it does, delete them from that list, go back to the user profile within your Workbooks database, save it, it should work fine. If it doesn't, let us know in support and we'll investigate further. But I'm 99% sure that will resolve that particular issue for you. I mentioned this briefly before. So if a user's WES isn't working, and you look in the section that I showed you, so you can either, as a system admin, you can go into the Exchange Sync UI and look as an overall, or individually you can look in your preferences section. If there's an error of ISS 209 sync DB is oversized, then that just means that the record limit for that. So I mentioned earlier about 10,000 records. So if it just means that user has somewhere exceeded that record limit. So again, usually the My People view is the culprit. So just go and have a look at My People first. If again, apply a filter, save it depending on the type of records that you want to see, and then that should fix that problem for you. Obviously, if not, then we'll do a bit more of a deep dive in that one. The add-in doesn't work. So again, a common question is, does the add-in work with shared mailboxes? No, unfortunately not. It's just predominantly, or it's just your kind of individual mailbox. In terms of meeting types, so do recurring meetings sync into Workbooks? No. Unfortunately, that's something that doesn't happen. Can private meetings be synced? Yes, private meetings can be synced. Sorry, I missed one there. Past meetings, can historical meetings be synced? They can only be synced if there's not a reminder set on the meeting. So usually by default, and you may have saw it when I created the meeting for Milo, there's like a 10 or 15 minute reminder to kind of let you know before it starts. If it's set, it won't sync it. So this is for historical meetings, by the way. If it's got a reminder, it won't sync into Workbooks. If you set it to do not sync or do not remind me or something like that, then it will sync. So if you want people to be able to see that you were busy at a certain time in the past. And then finally, connecting multiple databases to the Exchange Sync and encountering issues. So this causes confusion for the WES and the add-in in terms of which database it should be syncing with, and again, which profiles that it should be using and which fields to display. And so we strongly advise against connecting multiple databases, and to the point where we don't actually support it. Okay, so if you do that, then we, I'm sorry, but we really recommend that you don't. Okay, so on that bombshell, moving over to kind of the right-hand side where the tips are. Hopefully these will help you going forward. So pin your window. Again, it's a massive time saver. You saw that it opened on each time I clicked on an email. Meeting descriptions will sync to attendees. So the reason I added this again is because before I kind of advise of what the issue was, but to get around the issue, if you do have anyone, or if you do have any doubt that anyone might ever leave anything sensitive in that field, we'd recommend, or at least I would, create say a new custom field within your meeting record and call it internal notes. Leave a little information message above that field saying internal notes only. They will not sync, and then that way people can leave internal comments there rather than the description field. Yep, setting up appropriate rules. So tailored rules can automatically identify the sync and sync the emails that matter the most. So whether that be key client information or sales inquiries, orders, support questions, this helps keep your database and email client clean and aligned. So it saves you a lot of time, saves you a lot of effort. I really do recommend that correct and sensible rules are really good and really helpful. And then finally, be vigilant of any employees that say may have left your organization but still have a license or an Exchange Sync license assigned to them. So this goes a bit further than just the Exchange Sync. This kind of happens across the board with all Workbooks licenses. If someone leaves your business and you disable that user profile, we just recommend that you take that license away from that user as well, so that you can use it again when you need it, rather than it being tied up with someone that is no longer enabled. Okay, so that brings us to a kind of a quick recap of what we've covered in the last kind of 40 minutes or so. So we covered that the Workbooks and Outlook integration, the WES, runs every 30 minutes on a sync cycle and can sync emails, people, tasks, and meetings. It syncs records from Workbooks to Outlook that are found in the My People, My Open Tasks, and My Open Meetings views, or a view named Exchange Sync if you've configured one. The integration syncs records from Outlook to Workbooks via the use of the Workbooks category. And you can incredibly link emails to records and create new records and update existing records, a lot of records in that sentence, all via the Outlook add-in. Okay, so that brings me to the point of the webinar, which is my most feared but my most favorite, the questions. Has anyone, I'm just going to have a little look to see if there's any questions that we've got in here. So that's a good question. Thank you, Corinne. So Corinne's asked, can you confirm who adds Workbooks as an app to Outlook? Who adds Workbooks as an app to Outlook? I believe that's, if you mean the actual kind of the plugin itself, I believe that's probably an integration that's set up between our partner Revenue Grid, as well as liaised with our own engineering team to be able to design that. I'm not actually 100% sure on that one. If I've got the question wrong and that's not exactly what you're asking, then please do let me know. But hopefully, yeah, I think, like I say, it's probably more of a collaboration between our engineering team as well as our software partner. We've got a question from Martin. Can you link an email to an opportunity? Absolutely, yes. Hopefully I showed you that. I think I showed you that earlier in the demonstration section. So again, you can link, if you can either create an opportunity via the add-in, and then once you've created that opportunity, if it doesn't exist already, you can then link the email directly straight after creating it. Or if the opportunity does exist, then again you can just click link item to that particular record, and it would, within, I'd say, less than a minute, it should appear within as a related item or an email on that opportunity record. There is also a way that you can, I didn't actually show it, but there is a way that you can filter on kind of case or reference numbers. So if you know that a company or so an organization or there's anything that doesn't display in the add-in as an identified record type, or sorry, doesn't display in the add-in because it hasn't been, the email address hasn't identified the correct personal sales lead, you can search, say, an opportunity reference number, and there's like a little funnel symbol next to the search bar in the add-in, and that just allows you to filter. So you can search every record type, but that will take a lot longer to find what you want. But if you add the opportunity reference and then click the little funnel and then select opportunities, it will filter just that record type, and then it should display a bunch of opportunities in the add-in just below. Hopefully that answers your question. Just give it, that's all the questions that we've got actually for now. I'll just give it another few seconds or so in case anyone's got any more. Okay, so yeah, so Corinne's just confirmed, so that was correct. So basically she tried to look for the add-in and is unable to find it. Or sorry, tried to look for the workbooks, yeah, add-in, unable to find it. Just wanted to know who we have to ask to get that connected. So as I said before, so so it can be rolled out via your IT team or your 365 admin. But so we should have some documentation on this on our knowledge base. What I'll do for you, Corrine, is after this I'll create a support case, and then I'll try and gather some information for you and get that sent over if that's okay. Perfect. Yeah. Okay, so that's all the questions that we've got for now. If anyone thinks of anything after the webinar, please feel free to, again, as I say it again, drop us an email in support. And again, we'll be more than happy to come back to you and try and give you as much help as possible. Okay, so moving on then. So the next webinar. So hopefully. Sorry, a bit of a technical issue there. My mouse seems to have stopped working. So yeah, hopefully, if you have any more questions, hopefully you can join us on the next webinar. It's to do with user management, discussing best practices for creating and disabling users. It's scheduled for the 3rd of September, so we hope to see you all on that one. If you still have any questions or would like some help regarding the WES or any other product areas, please have a little look on our knowledge base. We have lots of information and kind of resources on there. You can click the question mark within the Workbooks product, or you can just bookmark the correct URL there and be able to jump to it that way. In addition to that, any authorized support contacts can contact our support team by email, phone, or using the case portal. Alternatively, you can contact your account manager, who will be more than happy to assist you, or at least point you in the right direction. Finally, we do have videos on our website, so following on the following topics displayed on screen. And you'll also be able to find them if you go to this particular link on the website and you click on the webinar recordings. You should be able to see them available there as well. Okay, so that's everything for today. Thank you all again. Thank you all so much for kind of taking the time out of your busy schedule. I really appreciate it. I hope that there was something in there that helped some of you or all of you. Yeah, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one in a couple of weeks. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.